All right, clapping. You're recording on there? Welcome to Giants Nation live show from Charlotte Motor Speedway presented by Body Armor. Probably the weirdest sentence you could put together for a New York Giants show, but here we are. We got a crowd of about 80 people deep out here watching the show as well. Some people just coming by and asking if they have a free Body Armor. I've done that because I'm a pushover. We're doing it again. We got Mr. Brownstone, Tucker Cherry, Kyle, a.k.a. the Trashman, the Mr. Brownstone Listener of the Year of 2024. Here we are. What's going on, fellas? Let's win some games.
Hell yeah, let's win some games.
So last time we kind of just went off the rails, thanks to Natty Daddy. But I just kind of want to go, like, we're here, might as well just talk Giants. Like, what do you guys have? It's kind of just treat it like a live mailbag.
I just want to say that I think that one of the most underrated parts of the Giants this year will probably be Darius Alexander. I really think that you're going to know what he can bring to the Giants. He's going to have a one-on-one with a lot of guards. You know, he's going to be B.O.B. a lot of the times. And
hold on a second. Up the volume?
Yeah, I can't hear him.
All right, right there. You good? Is that better? I can't believe they're fucking racing as soon as we press the fucking...
Yeah, they're practically.
All right, leave all this in. So you're talking about Darius Alexander being like more underrated on the team.
Well, I think that with Abdul Carter and Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence, there's not going to be a lot of attention paid to him. He's going to put up a pretty good statistical season, in my guess, even if that means that he's maybe as good or not as good as he appears in the stat sheet.
I think he's a huge decider on the ceiling and floor of the defense because, you know, they add Paulson Adebo. We know what he is. They add Javon Holland. We know what he is. At the very worst, you're getting good players out of those guys. If they're not playing at like a great level, you're getting good players. Newman and Phillips, we'll see how good they get. But again, that's a box safety and a nickel corner. Even if they don't hit what we want them to be, I don't think they're affecting the defense too negatively. I think the big question mark for this defense is the total run defense, but that second defensive tackle spot, because you're kind of relying on Alexander to be the guy right away.
Right.
You know, because after him, you have Rory Robertson-Harris, you know, Jeremiah Ledbetter, Nacho, who may not even make the team because of his current contract. Like, there's a lot on Alexander's plate as a rookie, and sometimes, now he's an older rookie, so he's not like a 21-year-old defensive tackle where you say the third year is the bump. But I do think they're relying on him to make a big impact because, you know, when you look at that defense, just overall, the run defense was not really addressed, and that was a huge issue for them last year.
Right.
Abdul Carter helps in certain ways, but he also hurts in certain ways. You're not adding like a Myles Garrett type who just is a positive all around. There's positives, but there's also big negatives in Abdul Carter. So you really didn't. Adebo and Holland's a good run defender, but he's not someone you're thinking about his run defense all the time. At the end of the day, he's going to be playing deep safety. He's not going to make the biggest impact. So right. I think Alexander, they're relying on a ton to make a big difference for them.
Yeah, well, that run game is going to be whether he can stop being pushed off on double teams or not is going to be his boom or bust for his position as a draft pick.
And he walks in as the best pass rush and defensive tackle outside Dex on the team, too.
And not to mention, like I said, he's going to be big on big a lot of the time. They're going to be doubling Carter or Burns. And they're going to be doubling Dex. Like, they're not going to have guys for him. He's going to have a two-way go at the quarterback. They're going to be funneled to him. It's going to be whether he can make a play or not.
Yeah. So, like, again, like I think there's a lot put on his plate. I think the rookie class overall, though, through Joe Shane's era, there's been a ton put on the plate of all of those guys. Where this is the first year where they kind of have enough of a roster where their rookies don't have to play right away. Even Carter, you think they have Burns and Cave on there.
Right.
You know, like that was viewed as a strength on the team beforehand. Now, there's high expectations for him. But again, there's not this, all right, you're our number one. It's just hopefully you are our number one eventually.
Right.
Dart's not going to play early on, at least. We'll see we'll obviously talk Jackson Dart at some point too. Scattaboo, he's going to be splitting carries. Bo's not going to be starting. So again, out of your first 5 picks, which, you know, the 7th rounders are not even going to talk about them in the conversation of playing this year. Your first 5, Carter and Alexander are really your only guys who are going to be asked to start right away.
Right.
And they're both going to be in rotational positions anyways, no matter what the depth chart looked like.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting to see Marcus Bowe in preseason to see if he could potentially be like a right guard kind of.
But no, walk across it. That's what we're looking for.
I think another thing with the Joe Shane draft strategy, I feel like every year he's done a good job of addressing the position of needs with the wrong players, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like when he drafted JMS, we needed a center. We needed interior offensive line, something to bolster that. Is JMS the player to solidify that 3 or 4 years later? No, it doesn't really look like it. We needed a deep downfield threat. We got Hyatt. Well, we know how that's worked out. We have, in free agency, signed Nacho, signed Ashawn Robinson, and he had...
Ashawn would just leave. He was gone after 1 year.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what are we really doing? So maybe Darius Alexander will fix that run defense, or at least help, raise the floor. But I don't know. We there's a lot more to be seen, and with Bobby's point of asking rookies of a lot for first season in, we'll have to see. But hopefully, this is like you said with Carter, this is the first time you want him to be your number one, but he doesn't have to be for the success of the team.
Yeah, and again, the offensive line, I think a line I'm getting a little tired of is, well, when this line's healthy. All right, well, that's a lot to ask 5 guys to be healthy through the whole year, and the most important piece, and I hate to say it because I'm his biggest fan, has been injured fairly consistently. Even when he's played through injuries, and Andrew Thomas, that's a huge question mark. So it's a very interesting year. I know the schedule's tough, but that's just kind of a part of football. You have to play tough teams, right? If you're going to be a good team. Now, again, you can have a year where you have a weaker schedule and you have a 2022, but at the end of the day, in year 4, we should be building something that you're not really talking about the schedule a ton. You talk about the week that is released, but not into training camp. And so that's where I feel like the Giants need to just grow. They need to be They need to be better than 4th place in their division, no matter how hard their division is viewed like. Buddy, what do you have the over-under on Jackson Dart's first game for week 1? Or what week do you think he eventually plays?
When do I think he plays?
Yeah.
Probably after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think they give it until the end of November. What I'll be interested to see is, and this all depends on how the season goes. So if it's not going well, and someone asked the other day, when will people call for Jackson Dart to play? And that doesn't mean he should play when people are but and I was like, well, -4 weeks if he has a good first preseason game. It's just the nature of it.
Yeah, well, but you have a shiny new toy. You want to see it as soon as possible.
Yeah,
so it's kind of to his detriment. Almost.
Yeah, what I'll be interested to see is if the season goes away where you may bench your starting quarterback in Russell Wilson, will they be willing
to go to Winston first?
Yes. Will they be willing to go to Winston first? Right? How much pressure will build up for them to go that? Because they as much as it sounds good, all right, well, you go to Winston first and then Dart and buy him some time. I could see them going quickly to Dart, being all right, you know what? We're going to get people excited. We're going to run an RPO offense. We're going to keep it simple for them. And, we're not going to ask them to make these big, tough decisions. We're just going to ask them to play some simplified ball and do a good job with it. So that will be what's interesting is we really don't know their development plan for him, right? We can all say, oh, he doesn't need to play right away. They may be envisioning him playing week 12 or after Jameis or before Jameis. They're the ones that like them the most. They drafted him, right? Brian Dable, we see, Brian Dable may want to play him for quicker than anybody in the fan base. Crazier things have happened. I remember the Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was 3rd string behind Sam Bradford and Chase Daniel.
Well, look at Russell Wilson the year that they pay Matt Flynn all that money.
Exactly. So you could have a plan, and that plan can change. So you have the Russell Wilson one, but I feel like I look at the Eagles one with Carson Wentz as very similar. Not similar as what would happen, but a dynamic where you have that paid quarterback who's not that good, but he's all right, and Sam Bradford. You have the guy who's just known as a backup, very different backups, and Chase Daniel. And then you have the guy you traded up for in the first round, and Carson Wentz. Obviously, Carson Wentz went second, so very different. But kind of a similarly viewed QB class where it wasn't very strong. And Wentz had a good preseason in camp. and they traded Bradford and then Carson Wentz was the week 1 starter. So I'm not predicting that, but what I would like to figure out on my own is what is like how much does Brian Dable like Jackson Dart in his current form, or is it simply I got to spend a lot of time molding this guy throughout camp?
I think he likes him more than that just because of how often he throws the passes deep. Like, I think that aggressive nature is something that Dable really likes in a quarterback. I think it is kind of a case of beer goggles where he's just like, he's trying to find what he wants in somebody. And he's trying to see all the positive aspects. And we're just all kind of hoping that it works out. But I'm happy that he actually threw for like over 4,000 yards in SEC as opposed to like 2,000 at, Duke or whatever.
Yeah, just a random example there.
And like Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had like 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
He's into college.
Well, you look at what he passed up on in the draft last year with J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix. If he felt pressured to take one, you kind of feel like last year would have been the time to do that.
Right.
Instead, he took Neighbors and moved up for Dart this year.
That would be the more interesting thing, is not even like, how much, because Dart, he likes Dart, we know that, is we kind of played this game of where would Shador and Cam fall in the quarterback rankings in last year's class, because last year had 6 guys in the first round, is if you got truth serum out of Brian Day, which we'll never know this answer unless Jackson Dart's great and they write books about him.
Right.
We can hope.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? Like Ryan Dunleavy posted on the rookie camp days, like Jackson Dart's first pass was completed to Jermaine Terry. Hopefully we remember that when we're writing, Super Bowl, Super Bowl articles about how it went from here to there. But where would Jackson Dart rank in Brian Dable's quarterback rankings of last year's class and this year's class? Because we know Cam Ward was their one because they wanted to trade up for him. And so, like, where would those guys rank in it? That'd be pretty interesting. But
he really likes running to the quarterback, though, right? So I would imagine that, like, JJ's probably maybe a little bit higher on there. I would pay good money to know how they felt about JJ in the conversations that they had last year.
Well, they like Penix more than JJ McCarthy.
Because
that's something
we
figured out. Now, again, we've also learned this year that there is differences of opinion on quarterback between GM and head coach. Like, that's a flat out that they, like, Jackson Dart is Brian Dable's guys. That was well reported before the draft, and we saw that play out, right? The Shador Sanders terrible meeting with the Giants, that didn't leak out on accident. That was somebody making it very clear that if we do this, I'm not the one who was advocating for this. Which also, I said pre-draft, Todd McShay. It's because Todd McShay, now that he's now with ESPN, is just letting loose on everything he knows. I was like, that's kind of appreciative, because every time the draft, we hear all this stuff, and then we don't actually hear anything until after it plays out. But like he basically said before draft, the meeting went terrible. He's not going there. He's not going to the Saints. He's not going to the Saints in the second round. But that is Brian. Like, I can't say 100%, but that's kind of the media assumption, is that Brian Dable put that information out that'll kind of make it clear that Dart is his guy, and we heard it reported. So.
My biggest question with Dart and Dable, that relationship, is how much of Brian Dable's conviction is job security versus he would rank him behind, maybe it's Drake May, Cam Ward, Dart, or is Penix, McCarthy, then Dart? What does that ranking look like? And is he trying to save his own ass? And I mean, you can't really blame him for trying to save his job, but at the same time, is this going to set the franchise back, and we're going to have another Daniel Jones situation where the quarterback doesn't develop? Or isn't the guy, with his draft slot?
Yeah, they need to handle this well. Like, there's no perfect example for this. I'm not someone who's saying, they drafted a quarterback, they need to be here for 2 years. I'm not on that part, but that is ideal, is because I've come to know John Mayer just by his actions, not know him personally, but know his actions. And if this season goes terribly, which it can with this record, it really can. I don't see them surviving it, no matter what everyone says in the offseason, right? Like last offseason, there wasn't even a conversation about Dable and Shane. There wasn't a conversation. And then look where it ended towards the end of the season. I do think they'll be gone. And it's not that I'm worried about them being gone. My worry is, guess who's going to get the job? The GM, not who's maybe the best qualified, but who says, I can fix your second-year quarterback. Because John Mayer, if I'm also not one of these, just move on quick. Like, if you, like, Jackson Dart should be here for 2 years before they draft another quarterback. There's obviously different circumstances, but I'm not going to just keep drafting them. Like, that's like fantasy football talk. That's not real life. And if you draft a guy like Jackson Dart and you don't give him a second year, like, that's just completely wasted as resource management. That's not good philosophy. Yeah. That's terrible assets to have that plan. So we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't go that way where they're losing their jobs. Hopefully they're keeping their jobs, and hopefully Jackson Dart is just good. Like, that's what, I've gotten jazzed up, just like, dude, like, a rookie quarterback outside of just winning games is one of the more fun things you can have for a football team. Like, because it's just even flashes or, will get you excited. But at the end of the day, like, not to joke around, but, like, they need to win games. Like, I remember, and this didn't work out in the long run, but we were doing the Daniel Jones episode in 2022 camp. And we were, like, kind of talking about, like, this number and this, and, like, as we go so deep in those player profiles, we talk about a player for 25 minutes, and we kind of came to the conclusion at the end where, like, what can this be, what needs to be done for this to not be his last player profile episode for this show? Or, like, win games. Like, it's just, you need to win games. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, so I think there's all this talk about how this roster's improved and stuff. All right, show me. Win games. It's literally as simple as that. That's not my total expectation for this team as, like, looking from the outside in. But as a fan who is being sold on year 4 of this GM, this being his entire roster, that is my expectation for the year 4 GM. Win games. Like, I'm not going to complicate this and, this guy looked decent. No, just win games. You win 8 games. You win 7 games. I might even have some grace for you, judging on a curve. But win some games.
Last season, all we heard was poor quarterback play held his team back. Would you not say that we've improved the quarterback room this year?
Well, they added 3 of their guys, right? So this is on you. Obviously, you can't just magically make the quarterback room great. But, like, this is year 4 of them. It's on them to make this team to win games and not just be competitive against bad teams and say, if this, we would have won those games. Also, we got to talk about body armor. This is their new flavor. You see it. We've had people who aren't even Giants fans just coming and asking for stuff out of the cooler, and we've given it to them. And I have to read this verbatim for legal reasons. Even though I don't know how much trouble body armor. They're very, like, you need to read this verbatim because we got it cleared with legal. But I was like, what can I possibly say that can get you in trouble legally?
Oh, we can find out.
I don't know if we want to find out. Chill down your summer with body armor. Chill. Get your chill on with this limited edition and possibly cold sports drink with a new cooling sensation. Hurry to your local retailer while supplies last. We're all rooting for Ryan Blaney to win this race for the body armor experience. Like, if they win, I think we can just do more live shows, which we're going to bring the next group on in a second. But I think now that I'm doing this show, and I can talk to you guys because I've known you guys all for a while, I'm becoming addicted to doing shows in weird spots. Like, I was at South of the Border the other day and texted Grump and Cranky, and I was like, can we do a live show here? They're like, yeah, okay. Grump said it. He's like, I'll do a live show anywhere. Also, I met one of the Wood brothers, Len Wood, I'm a big fan of, and we plan to go to their museum one day in Virginia. And I was like, you know what? We should ask them if we could do a live show there. I think we're doing one with the Sussex County Miners and training camp. We'll see. But my dream of, like, doing a live show in all 50 states, I think may happen eventually. So again, body armor, if you want to send me around the country, do it. Do you want a body armor? Behind you in the car.
Come get some.
Come get a body armor real quick.
Yeah, you're going to be sitting there for a while.
So yeah, I got to start throwing body armors to people in the background.
And make sure they're looking.
No, you'll have to.
Get the t-shirt cannon with body armor.
While we're switching off, that's what I'll start doing is throwing body armors to people in the background. You guys got anything else you want to hit on real quick before we roll with the next group?
How much do you think Marcus Bowe raises the floor for the offensive line in terms of, like, injuries? And not necessarily saying as a starter, but as a swing guy, someone who could play all positions, because he'll be playing all of them in training camp. We know that.
I'm worried with Bowe. Not worried, because I like Bowe. But there is a reason why he fell and it's just how he deals with strength. And I've done more and more draft work over the years, and there's like a talking point of like, oh, tell me about what the guy can do and what he can't do. I actually have come to like, I focus more on what you can't do, because that will get you in trouble. So I'm excited to see Bo in preseason and how he handles the strength of the game.
Strength, yeah.
Like, because again, it gave him issues in college, but again, I think he's so smart that he's going to figure out at some level in the NFL, whether that's guard or even center. I just think he's going to figure it out at some level in the NFL. And as a 5th-round pick, figuring out the NFL level, that's a win for me. It may not be what he was expected as to be as a projected 2nd-round pick, but as a 5th-round pick, that's a win for me. So, but I do think he gives training camp. I've been pretty against like we move this guy, this guy there, we move this. Like with Bo, I'm total opposite. Try him everywhere. Like don't put expectations of him being the backup tackle in camp. You sign swing tackles. Your camp expectations should be try everything, and let's find a home for you, and then that's where we're going to really develop you. So, what you had something too, right?
Is it time yet? Can we be excited for a football season to come around?
I'm excited. Like whether it's
does it have to be draft talk after week 4? Oh, well, we can't do anything else. It's over it. We've made moves. We've got our quarterback. We tanked last year. Let's win some fucking games.
Let's win some fucking games. Let's go 1-0. Like, just give me 1-0.
1-0.
1-0. Let's win a game. That's how it starts. You beat the Titans.
Washington was in the NFC Championship last year. Before that was we won 3 games, but hey, we won 2 against Washington. If they can turn it around, why not us?
Win some games.
Win some fucking games.
Win some games. Let's win some games. We'll win some games. Let's win some games.
I love all of y'all. Let's win some games.
Let's go. Let's win some games. All right, let's bring on the next crew.
Man, he's got that down.
Mike 3 and Mike 2.
Hello?
You on?
Hello? Hear me?
All right, who do we got coming on the show? Introduce yourselves.
I'm Chad, live in Charlotte locally, but I'm from Jersey.
My name is Luke. I live in Charlotte as well. I'm from West Virginia originally.
You were at the last Charlotte live show that saved the Giants 2000.
Yes, I was. That's why I got the shirt. I thought I would commemorate the joyous occasion. Hopefully we can bring it back.
Yeah, we're going to remake those shirts as well. So, again, we're trying to keep it more Giants-centric. What do you guys got?
So my first question is...
No, it's okay. The Knicks are down 2-0. We don't...
Really, well, throw Bockers, baby. I think that adding Abdul Carter to the defense is going to be interesting because we had a strong defensive front last year. And now adding a player like this is obviously going to take the burden off people like Dex and Thibodeau. Who do you think benefits the most from adding him to the defense?
That's tough. Part of me wants to say Kayvon, but I don't think Kayvon views being the third guy is beneficial to him. I think it's the secondary. I think it's the secondary as a whole. The Deontay Banks. Hopefully it allows the safeties to get their hands on the football a little more. I think it's the second, because again, not to say Abdul Carter is going to be this disruptor, game-changing player for week 1, but what he is going to do is if he starts winning and you put him, on 3rd down over, the A gap where he's going to win against centers and guards, it's going to force offenses to plan for that, right? To plan for a deadly pass rush, and that's going to, force quarterbacks to get the ball out quickly, and that's going to help the corner group. So I think it helps the secondary more as a whole. Burns and Kayvon, those guys got to win and do their job no matter what the corners are doing, no matter what Abdul Carter's doing. So I think it's him, because I think Dex is still going to get the double team. So I don't think it's like, oh, Dex gets less doubles, even though there may be some. But teams are still going to prioritize stopping Dex. And Burns and Kayvon aren't guys who are getting doubled a ton anyway. So I really think it's just the secondary as a whole benefits the most, because the teams are going to want to get the ball out quick, and you're going to be able to plan accordingly.
I think that seeing a quarterback 1 with like crazy ball skills when these quarterbacks have to make quick decisions and get the ball out quick, because last year Banks was in great position. Like a lot of the year, he just never grabbed the ball. It's simple to say, but like even when you do the tape breakdowns, his windows were fine. Having a cornerback in there with actual ball skills, I think we're going to see big improvement there.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how Shane Bowen uses those corners too, because Like Paulson Adebo doesn't just he just gets interceptions. Like he takes chances, right? Interceptions, turnovers are a chance-taking game, and he takes chances. Will Shane Bowen set the defense up to allow those guys to take those chances?
How do you think it will affect the middle linebackers? Because the secondary obviously is going to have a less of a worry about having to get the stopping of the linebackers, the middle linebackers. How do you think that the addition of the pass rush and not having to the middle linebackers won't have to worry about the run defense as much now because maybe the addition of Abdul Carter, especially when he gets brought in as a QB spy, how does that affect guys like Okereke, McFadden, and possibly like Deontay Johnson if he could somehow be a surprise and steal the second linebacker job?
Yeah, I think on like the down stuff, I don't know how much Carter changes for them. I think it's more relying on the interior, but what it does allow you to do is something Bowen didn't do, is take McFadden off the field on third down, which was something Wink Martindale did. And it doesn't make McFadden a better overall player, but if you're not using him in his weakness, which is third down coverage, like that helps him overall. And what your perception of him is, and just you're happier with him as a player if you're not putting him in some of those weaker spots. But Kyle was talking about was the defensive tackles. I'm really interested to see how these guys can help keep the linebackers clean. Because as much as I wasn't a fan of Okereke last year, and I thought McFadden played pretty decently in the new scheme, a lot of linebacker plays your defensive tackles and your defensive front keeping you clean, right? Like you watch Roquan Smith or whoever, and they play really well, but they also have had defensive tackles who have kept them clean, and when they haven't been kept clean, they struggle. So like even watching, like certain defensive tackles in the draft stuff, it's like, man, look how easy they make it for this linebacker, the way they're able to hold up a double team. So I think those are the types of things, but I think they're a big like floor ceiling point on the defense too, because we've seen the best of Okereke, which is like a one of the best linebackers in the league, and then we saw last year where he was just kind of average to below average. What do we get out of Okereke? I don't think using Shane Bowen's scheme is a reason to he's just not good in this scheme. Well, he was in a pretty similar scheme with the Colts when they added him, and that's the scheme that got him paid. So I do think it's on him to be just a better player, and then McFadden is what he is, and I think that I'm okay with that.
Exactly.
Do you think that the additions to the QB room, just by general level raising, it has to be better than last year, but do you think the culture changes just because we have real veteran quarterbacks in here that have been there and led the room before?
Yeah, to an extent. Like at the end of the day, you just got to go out and play better. And I think we'll find out, because it's for the Giants. We've had longevity in the quarterback room, right? So like some teams know what this brings. Like, my brother's a Commanders fan. I was like, what's it like having a new QB every year, week one, until now? So it'll be interesting to see, like, because we could do a quarterback ranking episode, and Russ wouldn't be very high, right? He might be like, in the 20s. But that's my question for Dable and Shane, and my expectations is you talked about upgrading the quarterback room. You did. What does that upgrade bring you? It can't just be simply upgrading. And what does that upgrade actually bring to you?
Is the safety blanket long enough for Dart for you to feel comfortable with him, call it next season, being a serviceable NFL quarterback, or are they putting too much trust in the quarterbacks for this year?
Hold on 1 second. Are you getting that in your ear? Can you pull the speaker further away?
He's at home.
Huh?
He's at home.
Up phone? Hello? Speak again?
So work now?
I think his mic is not even plugged in. All right, say something now.
Hello?
Yeah, I think your mic might have got loose.
Doesn't work?
Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, so it looks like they have a pretty, on paper, a good plan for Dart. They have Russ signed for 1 year, they have Jameis signed for 2 years, and a quarterback to sit there. Do you think it's safe enough to make it through this season without having to put him in games, or do you think we benefit from getting him in early? Everyone's different.
I want to play him at some point, right? I'm not sitting here saying, got to play him early. But I do think he needs to be developed enough to play 4 games in the year. Now, if they're not winning and competing in the playoffs, obviously. But if they're not making the playoffs, I want to see him the last 4 games of the year. Like, You can't tell me that he's so undeveloped that you put him through an entire NFL offseason, training camp, and then 13, or 14 weeks of an NFL season, and say he's just nowhere near ready to play a 4-week span, which again is not the toughest span on the Giants schedule.
Oh, a decent span on.
And if he doesn't look great, okay, like that's fine for him. Maybe not for the regime, but for him, that's okay. That shouldn't be enough to say, oh, this guy's not the guy. But unless he's so terrible that it's like a real issue. But at the same time, like you got to give him grace. Eli, I hate to use just Eli as an example, but Eli was generally terrible as a rookie. Now, he was mentally tough, and he got through it. And he finished the year with a 3-touchdown game win against the Cowboys. So like you want to see him grow through those things, and I think that's part of evaluating him. Is just how does he handle it if it doesn't go bad. So I do want to see him at some point. And unless they're just making the playoffs, which I would obviously prefer.
How do you think the receiving room is affected by the upgrade of the floor in the quarterback room? Because Neighbors was able to get a bunch of numbers despite having a atrocious quarterback play for majority of the season outside of the one Drew Lock game. But the rest of the guys, especially Slayton, it felt like their numbers significantly decreased. So with the addition of guys like Russ and Jameis and Dart, do you think that the floor for the receiving room, especially the guys behind Neighbors, is increased significantly? Or how do you think their seasons will look?
Neighbors is going to be Neighbors, so he's going to get his. Now, there could be an increase or decrease, but he's going to get his. Slayton, I think there's going to be an increase as well. There's going to be more vertical touches for him. I think they're going to be using him more on third down when Neighbors are getting that attention. Wandale is the one who I'm really interested to see what his total numbers, because there has to be a decrease in his usage. One, even if they had Daniel Jones as their quarterback, I felt like they weren't using him the right way. They were just overfeeding him the football. What will be interesting is, does he get like a nice middle ground where it's less catches but more yak opportunities? But Russ doesn't use the quick game very well. So are we talking about a guy who at the end of the year has like 35 catches, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns? Like where are we getting? Because we'd like to find some middle ground in the 600-yard range for him eventually.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you think about the potential of like maybe signing Gabe Davis? Does Wandale stop you from doing that, or does it make you want
it's a Jalen Hyatt decision. If you don't like Jalen, if you're giving up on Jalen Hyatt, which I have no issue with them doing that, then yeah, you go sign Gabe Davis. He's your wide receiver 4. When it's third and long, you put him on the field over Wandale. And he is your 4th wide receiver, and that's it. You're just not taking snaps away from Slayton. He's taking some snaps away from Wandale, but not a lot. But he's your 4th wide receiver. You use him in some, 2 tight end. Like obviously you put him on the field here and there. But if you're just viewing him as a 4th wide receiver and we're giving up on Hyatt, fine. But that has to be the plan. Not even a plan. Bring him in, because I don't think he's going to cost anything because of the contract with the Jags. And you simply can just go, be whoever's better in camp, like a true camp battle, which doesn't always happen, but you can put together a legitimate camp battle where whichever one of you is better is getting the job, and then whoever's not is getting cut.
I agree. I would really like to see that. I think that it would be better for the team as a whole if we had more of that, and that the GM, I think he's done a bit better job of this, giving up on draft picks that end up being a failure instead of trying to double down on his decisions, which I think has happened a couple of times, mostly with the quarterback room this year.
Yeah, and again, there's different levels of like, what do you do with a guy like Deontay? You shouldn't be giving up on Deontay Banks. You shouldn't be giving up on John Michael Schmitz, right? You can plan, but you shouldn't be just like, this guy is nothing for us. I feel like a guy like Evan Neal and Jalen Hyatt are 2 guys who you can, at least once camp is over, safely give up on. Right? Like, I think there's different levels of like guys not working out the way you want. And I think those guys fall in the category of like, you get a couple weeks of camp and if it's not going well, we're making plans of you to not be on this team for this season. So I think those are 2 guys. Like, and that's with Jalen Hyatt. He's entering year 3. If Gabe Davis coming off of a serious injury is better than you, then how am I going to sit here and argue that, this isn't right? You need more opportunities and stuff. Like, eventually Jalen Hyatt has to be more than a one-trick pony and not one of the easiest tricks to like Isaiah Hodgins, right? Isaiah Hodgins doesn't give you anything in the 2nd or 3rd level, but it gives you like 6 different options in the first level, where Hyatt is just vertical, 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 vertical. That's it. And now that this team doesn't have such lack of speed on the outside, right? When before Neighbors was here, you needed somebody opposite Slayton just to help. Now that you have Neighbors and a Slayton, both guys that can win vertically, the need for Jalen Hyatt is just underrated. Where when Isaiah Hodgins was a starting receiver, it added value to have Hyatt to come on that field and have you respect deep or just throw that ball deep. Now that you got 2 guys who are on the outside who are 3-level guys, that need is just really diminished. So,
How does Theo factor into all this? I feel like Russ.
he's just a starting tight end. It's as simple as that. I don't know. You shouldn't have these big expectations for yards or whatever. And I think there's a world where he's not putting up a ton of yards, but you're happy with him because Russ isn't. Like, Theo just needs to. We need to be able to watch Theo. Theo needs to be an eye test guy for us, not a statistical benchmark. With Theo, I think it's simply an eye test. How good are you in the receiving game when you get your opportunities? How good of you are as a blocker? I think he's someone I think he's one of the easiest evaluations on this team, at least for me, where it's just simply be good when I watch you.
Yeah, and it's a shame that he was starting to break out and finally have like the first like really good games of his career when he got injured, because I think he could have really stepped up and he would have been like an X factor, and they could have put maybe 60 in the Drew Lock game if he was playing, because he really was like starting to make like plays that you didn't have to look at the stat line to see. He was like mossing dudes and just making incredible catches.
Yeah, and I'm a big Theo fan, so I'm excited to see what he can be in year 2. All right, fellas, appreciate you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you guys for jumping on.
Thank you.
So we got Stan and John. Steven, you could jump on too. I didn't know you were here. Thank you guys.
Yeah, that was my first ever appearance on any podcast show.
Hell yeah, dude. Appreciate you. Well, I mean, we'll be around, so.
The New York Giants are saved.
I know.
We're going to win games this year.
It feels like yesterday we were out under one of those trees in the parking area saving the New York Giants.
Simpler times, more innocent times. I'm actually pretty sad this time around because, our old quarterback Daniel Jones was in Charlotte, and now that he's on the Indianapolis Colts, I feel like he traded stock cars for those Indy type deals.
Last time he was here, it was his birthday. So I remember tweeting out, I was celebrating Daniel Jones' birthday.
Yeah, that's
in the park.
It's unfortunately we can't celebrate these things anymore, but
Steven covers NASCAR for CBS Sports.
That's right. I just came in from the Cup Media bullpen, actually.
Okay. Anything of note Giants related in there?
Bubba Wallace was in New York this past week. He was on Sesame Street. He was hanging out with Oscar the Grouch. Actually managed to get in Oscar's trash can, I do believe.
Oh, so you reminded me of this when you said like simpler times. Because now that Talking Giants, or at least the form it was, is over. I feel like 2022 was just peak Talking Giants. We had a fucking Charlotte live show. We had the playoff year, right? We had that. It was our first time at training camp. There was just like I feel like 2022 was peak Talking Giants. Like when did it peak? Where the Good Morning videos of us killing the mascot were every single week and gruesome.
I want to say that was still like the tail end of Trailer Park Boys videos depicting current events on the Giants as well.
Yeah, and we had Julian with us, which helped with like a lot of memes and stuff like that. But like we were having like very real conversations because we were losing followers on Instagram every Sunday when you should be gaining them in the NFL season. Because unfortunately for the Giants too, we played all these big cats that year, and people love big cats, Lions, Jags. And it was like I felt bad pressing send, but like here's like the only video if I could find someone just sniping out a jaguar.
How many big cats or animals do we have this year? I think we played the Bears, the Lions, I think we played the Vikings. Don't we play the Vikings again?
Yeah.
Do we have anything of someone shooting and killing a Viking? Well,
so we did week one. We only did it for week 1 this year. And it was some from one of the Viking shows, and the guy walking up on the shore, and he just gets hit with like 100 arrows.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then it goes into I don't even know who sings it. Where it's the girl singer goes bow bow bow, and it's Daniel Jones stiff-arming Patrick Peterson, and it says good morning on it, which was great. And then they got smoked. And I was like, yep, these are dead forever.
Yeah, I think I was in Atlanta that day, so anything that occurred in week 1 of last year probably just went into a hole of, doing pre-race, being in the garage area, doing content on pit road. And it's probably for the better. I was actually saying last night my analysis of the Knicks loss to the Pacers was much more sober than it was on Wednesday night in Game 1 when I didn't have all of this to distract me. So it's just dangle race cars in front of me, and I'll not act like a crazy person in your replies.
Yeah. So Stan, you've been a fan.
I'm getting no audio at all in here. So
how about now?
Man, you it was decided before.
I just have to wing it.
Can you hear me now?
That's better, yeah.
I'm going to crank yours up. How about now?
Crank it. Oh, further down.
Okay.
There we go.
I thought about turning it all the way up and screaming.
Crank it up. We're in a NASCAR race.
Awesome.
What do we got, Giants?
Well, first off, fuck the Eagles.
Well said.
But, yeah, I just think my headspace right now is, and some people are going to hate this, but I'm just glad to be past the DJ era. I just feel like that was a really exhausting, like even the good times were just kind of exhausting in their own way. You just go on social media and there was just constant bickering, and even the Saquon era too. Like it just feels like a new start. And yeah, I'm just excited for that, whatever that brings.
Yeah, I'm actually, I agree with you especially in the sense that I was always on the, defend Daniel Jones at all costs bandwagon. So it was, yeah, it did get exhausting doing that. And I almost feel like now, like I'm out of a bad relationship where it was like, I love you, but I'm not happy. And I think this is probably the freest and most open-minded and relaxed I've been as a fan. It's probably 2017 before that season.
And once it's like bickering about this quarterback, do we draft it? Now that they drafted a quarterback, no matter what, whether you wanted them to draft him or not, now it's simple. How do you look? Simple as that. Now, if he's average or below average, there'll be the arguments will start up again, right? There'll be people defending his below average, and like, what's this? We'll go through it all again. But I think after having Eli my whole life, and just be like, that's my quarterback. I'm not going to conversate with you about anything else. That's my quarterback. And then going through Daniel Jones, which was a very new experience. It was a new experience for Giants fans. We hadn't done that in 20 and 15 years. I think I am raising my standard for this quarterback, and simply like, don't make me have to look at this number, debate this, or watch this. Just be good, right? Be good, whether it's casually good or whatever. Just be simply good. Obviously, not saying right away. Yeah. But once we're at the end of the 2026 season, be a good quarterback. If the fan of if the Detroit Lions fan isn't saying you're good, then I'm not going to sit here and put out all this hope. I'll give you another year if you look decent, but I think I'm just going to keep it simple. Like just be good.
Will you change though how you assess, like let's say the Dart plays this season, which I think he will at some point? Are you going to view it differently in light of DJ?
Hold on 1 second. Can we pull this speaker further away, because I feel like we're getting it in the headphones?
Yeah. Are you talking about the car honking in the about 20 feet away from us?
Yeah, that's good right there. Mr. Brownstone should just take the speaker and just put it in people's car windows, and we stream at them. Yeah, just take it all around the fan zone.
I'd be lit.
Guess what we're talking about? By the way, you know what? I'll get to your question, because thank you to Charlotte. We thank Body Armor because they're the best. Thank you to Charlotte Motor Speedway, because they also made this. Last time we were out in the parking lot, they said, hey, come. We'll get you a table. We'll set you up. We're literally under the sign. I mean, we could take the chance of picking up the tripod and everything right now. Oh, that's dangerous. We're literally under the sign all by the road. Like behind us, it's the cars. Oh, yeah, we're really just moving this tripod around. We're literally under the sign. Where last time it's like the day of, hey, we're at this part of the parking lot. This is the orientation. Yesterday, it's like, hey, we're under the sign. Show up. So is everything good with the camera now? Okay. If it's not, who cares either? What was your question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, are you going to assess Dart's rookie season any differently in light of that DJ actually kind of looked decent as a rookie, and then it kind of went off the rails after that?
Rookie season, we'll talk about what it is. I'm not saying move on. Like, it's just, you call me Homer or whatever. it would have to clear a very low bar for me to say move on, draft another quarterback. Now if the Giants somehow end up with like the first overall pick, that conversation gets more, whatever. I don't really feel like doing that right now, anyways. But I'm not. This is where take a quarterback, just take a quarterback. Where I totally disagree with them. But now that we have taken a quarterback, he gets a second year. He gets a second year. Doesn't mean I'm excited for a second year if it looks really bad, but he at least gets a second year. We've seen too many quarterbacks be terrible their first year and turn it on. It doesn't mean that he's going to turn it on, right? Like, say if Dart is really bad this year, we'll spend the whole summer being like Jared Goff, Eli, these guys, their first year stats, right? And it's not going to be an indicator of whether he's good, but it is a reason to at least give him the fucking chance to be good, right? You have to give the guy a chance. So I am not this one of these, just look what the Cardinals did. Was like the Cardinals what they did is they wasted a ton of draft capital on Josh Rosen. They wasted that. And how could they believe in this guy enough to take him 10th and then trade him the next year? Like, then I just don't believe in you as a regime. If you bring in a new regime, but again, I'm just hoping to not get to that conversation. I'm really not. I'm hoping for Dart to at least look good enough when he does play to where it's a justified second year and not just, it's second year. Like, hopefully it's not like Zach Wilson level bad rookie year where it's like that. But you got to have patience with a rookie QB. Like, I'll never subscribe for just take the quarterback. No. Develop a quarterback. Develop him. Doesn't mean that he's going to be good, but at least give him the opportunity.
Well, for a lot of those reasons, I think it's almost deja vu again. And it seems so hyperbole that we find ourselves in another year where week one is going to be such a tell and so important for how the whole season pans out. Well, going back to the Titans game in Nashville a couple years ago, no one saw that coming, but they got momentum from that game. They went on a run, and then we're all excited for the Dallas Cowboys opener, and they absolutely sucked, and the year was horrible. So, like, last year, I had no hope. This year, I don't know what to think.
It's not a fresh slate of like, you get to be whatever you want, but it's a new quarterback, right? Like, that's a very new thing for us where it's, like I said, we've had two quarterbacks for 20 years. Two, like, obviously other guys that came in, Tyrod or whatever, but like two guys who you plan to start for 20 years. So here comes that third guy. Let's see what it looks like. Like, you're this offensive guru. You've all this. We've added this on paper and we've improved here. Okay, show me. Look good. Like, it sounds simplistic, and this show is not about being super simplistic, and that's why on, the June mailbag, we'll be talking about the pass rush win rate of the second best, the third best defensive tackle. But sometimes it is really just simple. Be good. Be good. Year 4 of this regime. This is your entire team. Be good. Jackson Dart, year 2, which is, over a year away from now. Be good. Like, sometimes it's as simple as that.
That's why I'm actually really excited to see Hard Knocks this season, because we're finally going to see Brian Dable as a coach. You get just nothing burgers from him in every press conference, but you have people like Todd McShay saying Brian Dable is such an amazing coach. Well, we haven't really seen it. I feel like this will be the first time we actually see him coaching in a natural environment, be able to judge for ourselves.
Absolutely.
One thing I am really interested by this offseason is how, like, under the radar, I feel like Abdul Carter has flown. It's like nobody's talking about, like, Kayvon, I think, when he was drafted, big personality, all of that. And I honestly didn't watch a whole lot of Penn State, didn't know a ton about Carter outside of, clips and headlines and whatnot. Nobody's talking about him. Like, he's just kind of there, and I don't really have any expectations.
We drafted him in the first round recap podcast. We didn't talk about him for 30 minutes. That's what happens when you get a new quarterback. But as someone who wanted Carter all the way through outside of Cam Ward, I am so excited just to watch him play football in the NFL with a New York Giants jersey on.
How does he rank in terms of your top most favorite picks since you've done this, since you've been a content creator for the Giants?
So I think Andrew Thomas will always be number one, not because I think he's a better prospect than Abdul Carter or even Malik Neighbors, but there was competition in that class for, like, tackle Isaiah Simmons, and I was not the only, but there wasn't a ton of people on the draft Andrew Thomas train, and so that will always be my favorite. But I'd say he's number 2 after Thomas out of guys I wanted for the Giants in the first round. Because it's so easy to see he's good. Like with Malik Neighbors, it was easy to see. You draft some guys in the first round. It's like, hey, you gotta develop them. Like Malik Neighbors, the expectation was like, no, be the wide receiver day one. We don't need to wait. And I hope that's the same for Carter as well too. Plus, I just love watching when a pass rusher is dominant. I think it's the most fun thing to watch in football. I truly don't think there's anything more enjoyable than watching a pass rusher just dominate a game.
Yeah, on the subject of Abdul Carter, do you think there's been any bigger of a non-story than the whole, Lawrence Taylor, Phil Simms' number, and then finally just him taking 51?
I want 55, by the way.
Yeah, I thought 55 would be good. I mean, especially with the Penn State connection, that'd be a cool kind of LeVar Arrington throwback. But especially since we're in Carolina, 51 is a pretty underrated linebackers number. Obviously, in this area, everyone thinks of Sam Mills, but you also had, probably not to use the best examples I could here, but Paul Postlesny from the Jaguars. Yes, someone on the Redskins 10 years ago. I don't remember exactly who.
Fletcher was 59. I'm trying to think of who 51 would have been. But
I'm trying to remember.
If he dominates it, it'll look cool.
Yep.
Simple as that.
I mean, granted, it is more of an inside backers number. Sam Mills was an inside backer, but it's going to look. I will say that Azeez Ojulari made that number look pretty good when he was able to screen off the edge. That pisses me off, by the way.
Pull your mic up a little bit.
What's up?
Oh, there you go.
Azeez Ojulari is going to play 17 games, and he's going to kill us only 2 games he does play, and I'm going to hate it.
I'm worried about the Eagles turning good is Kenyon Green, who I loved a few years ago.
It's going to happen.
Total bust, and they got in the O-line. So that's the one that I'm worried about. But
now, granted, Andre Dillard is the antithesis of the whole Jeff Stoutland makes anyone good argument. So I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, but I love Kenyon Green. So for my own, I want to see him be good, so I goes right. But also, he's on the Eagles, so I don't want him to be good.
Oh, speaking of guys we want to be good, there is one player that you and I talked about that we've got to talk about on this show, Rashawn Baker.
Oh yes, I forgot Elon.
Yes. Class of 2015. My 10-year anniversary of graduating was yesterday, actually. So it's funny. We won single-digit games when I was a student there, and now we've been able to build a pretty decent football program, and we finally put a guy on the Giants who went to my school.
I'm excited for him. I'm hoping he is the Giants' preseason rushing leader. It's a hard climb to make this roster as a running back when you have Scadaboo and Tracy who are locks. Singletary, who is essentially a lock, you'd be losing money if you cut him. So it's a uphill battle for any running back. But I'm excited. I hope he stands out and makes the. He was a tough runner, dude. He's a little bit of a bowling ball out there. It was fun watching him against Duke when he played some bigger competition. So
yeah, Duke was I think Duke was week 1 of last year, and we were the big thing that I always hope for as an alumni and as a fan of a CAA team is that eventually we can get to the point where we can play a Power 5 school and beat them. And we were playing Duke close, I think, until just after the half, and kind of got away from us. But yeah, I mean it's great. And the other guy was pretty hyped about you bringing up. I know before free agency you mentioned Oliudo as a offensive line target, and he's probably the best draft prospect that Elon has put out.
Who?
Yeah, Oliudo. Oh, you from the Vikings?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Phoenix. I didn't realize he was the Elon. All right, fellas, appreciate you guys jumping on.
Absolutely.
We're going to bring the 4 and Fuel podcast on to finish off. You guys ready?
Right, sweet.
Let's win some games.
Oh, dude, you're my favorite guy in the world. You got the Axle Body Armor Chill hat.
I mean, it couldn't have worked out better.
Yeah, I know. If we're ready to go. Perfect. And has anyone ever told you look like Marty Smith a little bit?
You know what? I've actually heard that plenty of times. It's actually pretty cool. A lot of people say that we could be brothers, and I think there is a good chance.
She might have just lied, but we had Marty Smith on the show.
And I'll tell you, I went to the Masters just for one day, and I saw Marty Smith, and he recognized. Well, yeah, I guess he looked at me, and there we are. We're waving at each other. I'm like, I feel like we're looking in the mirror.
I feel like Marty Smith has taken the mantle as the NASCAR historian when an outside thing is trying to do something on NASCAR.
That's right.
Yeah.
I feel like if you lined up Marty Smith and Jeb Burton and you side by side, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
I mean, we could pass as a family. We're one big family. Happy family for NASCAR.
Let me introduce you guys. We got the Foreign Fuel podcast, a NASCAR podcast. I know you guys are Giants fans. Are you a Giants fan as well?
I just don't follow football enough. But
well, you're a Giants fan.
It works out. I'm a Giants fan today. It works out.
And I'm not actually Minnesota Vikings fan.
Oh shit, that's the other guy.
Well, we beat them in the playoffs, so we're all good.
Yeah, as we play him this year too in December. Hopefully, JJ McCarthy stinks. Yeah. How we get? We've done a lot of Giants stuff, so I kind of want to talk racing. We're at the race. Who do we got winning this week?
It's hard to pick against Larson. It really is. As long as he gets here in time, it's hard to pick against him.
So I had until because I was at Homestead. I keep track of races I've been at, and I think I had the highest ratio of win to that driver's total career wins until Larson. So I'm going to show you the races I've been to. I haven't been to a ton. So I'm hoping part of it's going to Daytona a lot. So 2014 Coke 0400 Eric Almirola. I think he had 2 wins. So that's 1-2. Then the 2023 Daytona 500 Ricky Stenhouse. At the time, it was 1 of 2 wins, so 2-4. Then Shane Van Gisbergen at Chicago, 3-5.
How about that? That's awesome.
And then Harrison Burton, 4-7. And then I got Kyle Larson in Miami this year, and that ruined.
Okay, there we go.
Thing. So we'll see, but. Tell me, we've been talking a little bit. You guys have done your show. You guys do a NASCAR show. We'll put links in the chat and stuff. What have you guys been doing here? Because I think you guys been doing. Yeah, I know you guys did a show. After the JMR fan day.
Yeah, we be a few years now. Weekly episodes. We just kind of throw our reactions in as fans, and give those just rants and stuff like that. You're looking to give the fan perspective as more of like the analytical instead of just give like the true fans what they're thinking and just kind of put that out as a podcast.
Yeah, because we're not tied to anything, so it's easy for people that are more in the industry than we are that you kind of have to talk about things from a nice PR side of things. And
that's one of the things with NASCAR I've noticed is there it feels like there's 2 sides. There is the more official ones it just feels so PR all the time. And then you have the side where it's everything sucks about everything. And it's about finding like that nice middle ground where it's, you want a body armor? Come on through. You guys get body armors if you want. Them too. You could have one too.
Get a body, come on.
You could come on camera. We kind of like stuff like that. Okay. Anyways, I feel like there's 2 sides where, like you said, it's like you could tell it's like, you're afraid to criticize because of who's in there, and then there's like, everything sucks. Why'd they change this logo, one color? This is why can't NASCAR get back to its roots or whatever? So, but I feel like I've gotten back into the sport since 2023, and I think it's just kind of enjoyable to be a fan. Where now that Giants are still my number 1 fandom, but they're also work. So NASCAR is like, all right, I get to watch, I get to listen. I don't got to think about having good takes. I could just have takes and then listen to other people's takes. And if I want to steal their takes as my opinions, then I'll do it. I don't have to worry about that shit. So that's why I enjoy listening to you guys and some of the other NASCAR shows I listen to. You guys are well, you're a Giants fan. Yeah. Where's the other guy who was a Giants?
He's right there. He's behind the camera.
Okay.
He just isn't our regular on the show. We got our other regular on the show on here.
That's right.
So, what do you guys have planned, because this is coming out on Tuesday, so this will be after the race already won, after Josh Berry won the Coke 600. What do you guys have?
He is my pick to win. I actually do have Josh Berry, and I'm not biased. I am from Virginia. I love the win.
So let's talk about, all right, you got, this is what I want to do. I want to look Josh Berry. Am I being biased? And I try to ignore anytime it brings up the Penske connection, but there is a Penske connection, and that's a championship-level team. Barry's been he's basically led almost every race. Now, they've had Darlington wrecked. There was Texas leading in wrecked. Got caught up in the wrecks at Daytona and Atlanta. But like, he's been a top 10. They've been a top 10 team this year. Like, I'm getting, as much as I don't love, I actually not love, I kind of hate the playoff system. I'm deluding myself into like, we can get through every round and then have a chance at the end. Like, I don't know how delusional I am, but I think Barry's is a driver, right? And you'll see drivers make mistakes, and that's what, he's done a few times. But I do think he's just a legitimate, like, guy who could just go out there and win. And it's fun as a Wood Brothers fan for the first time since I've really gotten back into the sport where I'm actually, like, living and dying with my driver, where with Harrison Burton, it was just like, yeah, top 18 would be cool. Like, I'd be happy with that. Where now, if my guy's in fifth, I'm like, all right, how do we get to first? Where with Harrison, it was like, all right, we stayed out and we're in second. How long is it going to take us to fall back to 25th?
Yeah. I don't think you're delusional for that take. We've talked about it on our show before that when you looked at Harrison Burton's win at Daytona last year, at the pace that they were running, you knew that it was going to be tough for them to get out of the first round of the playoffs. And
yeah, they weren't getting out.
And now you look at Josh Berry, how he won at Vegas. He was quick at Kansas, Texas. He's been good at these more mile-and-a-half tracks. It's going to be hard.
Finished fourth at Phoenix.
Yeah, at fourth at Phoenix. It's going to be hard to knock the 21 team out of the playoffs this year. They're not just going to lay down and die. I think it's very realistic for them to get to the round of 8 and maybe contend, especially with Talladega being in the round of 8. It's going to be, I don't want to.
Yeah,
look too far
there's 2 road courses in the final 10 this year, right? That makes it a little tough because I think he's lower than the
on this year.
Just one this year. They're return.
Watkins Glen is in it.
They get back out to August.
Just a one-time, like a one-year deal.
Oh, make sure you go to the Roval. Charlotte wanted me to talk about that. So October 5th, go to the Roval. So that'll be a good time. So yeah, I'm like the Bears just in the playoffs, so it's like I get to be excited about that anyways. But like even when Harrison Burton won, I was like, someone messaged me like he's in the playoffs. I was like, I don't give a shit about that. I'm just excited they fucking won. I know we're not actually doing anything in the playoffs. But with Barry, I get to be like fully invested, which it does suck. The NFL season basically starts right with the playoff.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to maneuver that. It's second screen, but you never pay attention to the second screen as much as the first screen. So I actually got to look at how the schedule plays out and everything. But I'm excited to get to every year when the NFL schedule releases, or not every year, but the last few years. My thing is like, give me the preseason schedule. Let's make sure there for the last Giants game's not on a Saturday, so I could hit the Daytona August. So, all right, we've been going for. Damn, we went over an hour. I was expecting 45 minutes. Foreign Fuel Podcast. Thank you guys for jumping on.
Thank you for having us.
We will put links in the bio. Make sure to listen. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate everyone that's come out. It's cool to see. It's so fucking stupid that we do this, but I'm becoming addicted to live shows where sitting here promoting people like I have someone who's like helping me out with some stuff, and he's like, you should do a live show here, and I'm like, I don't really want to, but I was like, I do want to do one in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I think I'm just gonna use this show as a way to go visit places I want. So
Yeah.
we'll see what the next one is. We appreciate everyone for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Until then, let's go Big Blue.